Now, you started, thank you so much for all that you've explained to us so far, Paul. Could you explain to us a little bit more about the importance of local social enterprises created for and by the local farmers and other producers in the local communities?
The social enterprise educates, trains, and equips a small farmer. They might come to you with zero money. So you've got to equip them. They might need gasifiers. They might need self-harvesting devices for the larvae. They have to build pig pens and cow pens. They have to manage the ducks and the chickens and maybe even do aquaponics.
Mm-hmm.
So the social enterprise would educate, train, and equip that small farmer. And finally, what does the social enterprise do? All of the food produced is sold by the social enterprise. That little farmer gets 80%.
Mm-hmm.
Now, my son, I didn't mention him. No.
Not yet.
Okay, my son was living in Austin, Texas. And he was taking food waste from restaurants. They would pay him half of the landfill cost, their landfill cost.
Mm-hmm.
And he took their food waste. And what he did was, you'd say, well, how can he be picking up food waste every day? Well, just a second, let me get this little bucket here. So he had he had a little bucket that he bought, and it has an umbrella valve on it. And then you see the umbrella valve here, and then so he'd bring maybe 20, 30, maybe even 50 buckets to a restaurant, and he would leave that at the restaurant, and then he'd also give them a probiotic.
Mm-hmm.
So they would take the food waste, grind it up, put it in the bucket, add the probiotic, and it could stay in the restaurant for a month. You didn't have to come every day and pick up food waste.
Mm-hmm.
There was no refrigeration required. And then, so they also were so happy he took their waste cooking oil, because that's a big disposal problem. Now, I'm not sure if this is the best way to transform it, waste cooking oil, but he took it and made a biodiesel.
Mm-hmm.
So now his trucks, he had no fuel cost.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Then he took the buckets in a special little trailer, and he brought them to a group of small farmers outside the city. And there they transformed the food waste into feed and fertilizer.
Mm-hmm.
But his trucks didn't travel empty. Food waste this way, he took the food that they produced and brought it back to the restaurant.
Mm-hmm.
And then what happened? He gave the small farmers 85% of the profit, of the in value of that food that they produced when it got sold to the restaurant. In America, small farmers might make 8%, as low as 8%. Now they had 85%.
So 10 times more.
Yeah, so they were, and then, and that's one example. And he didn't even call what he was doing a social enterprise. So I'm sitting here a few years ago watching television. I watch television for 10 minutes every day, and I have a certain news channel I turn on.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, I turn on the television. My son didn't tell me anything, and there was a France 24 documentary on what he was doing in Austin, Texas.
Mm-hmm.
And it was very well done. Now, not all of the farmers there, if you watch that video, the documentary, the farmers were still not transforming waste at the highest possible levels. They could have been
So it was a great system, but it could have even been better.
Could have been much, much better. But it was a beginning. So what I'm telling people, okay, here's a restaurant. Let's imagine you want to do what my son was doing, but you want to do it on a little bit better thing. Well, okay, the restaurant needs fuel. It has to cook.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, you bring them Say, I'll give you these pellets at half price. You give me back the biochar.
Mm-hmm.
Now I want all of your food waste. You don't have to send it to landfill. I'm gonna take all of that. You see? So there could be instead of biochar kilns, imagine if every restaurant in Canada or America or Vietnam were using gasifiers,
Mm-hmm.
and they were making biochar. What an incredible business that would be. Now, imagine biochar sold at $1 a kilogram. You see, it's just big money. Now, then I'm really excited about another type of gasifier. It's not the gasifier you're going to see in the video that you're going to show. It's a torch gasifier.
Mm-hmm.
So it shoots a flame this long. The reactor is filled with pellets. It doesn't have burners like you would normally see on my gasifiers, whether it's the small one or the big one with 6 burners. There are no burners. It's just one big torch where the syngas gets mixed properly with the air, secondary air. But that secondary air is hot. Mm-hmm. It's very hot. I would imagine we're somewhere in the area of about 400 degrees. Mm-hmm. And then now we have a big torch like that, and let's go into a brick kiln, mm-hmm. or into a ceramic kiln.